That was something else. That stop motion, the way, especially when they like talked, it was like I was like it was really awesome. Uh, I think that's from our collection. We got a bunch of stuff from South Carolina. They were getting rid of a bunch of films to make room for other things, and so we ended up with a bunch of stuff, including stuff like that. Obviously, it had some damage. You could see on the sides, the there was this kind of weird, kind of speckle, but we were able to get a kind of decent scan out of it. This next one I think is also from that collection, and this one answers the musical question: is that song that Bugs Bunny sings a real song, and does it actually have words beyond lie da da die 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 die? So here's Jeannie with the light brown hair. Enjoy.
100-odd years, 100 years ago, a living man walked the earth, saw the sunset glow, loved, and in turn was loved, felt and heard music stirring in his soul, coming from whence all music comes. I was that man. Then came a period when, try as I would, I could create nothing to satisfy me. I was faced with the possibility that the well of inspiration had run dry. That year I had written only 3 songs, was in debt to my publishers for a considerable amount. Time for my wife Jane. She had tried to hide her concern, but as the weeks passed without fruitfulness from my pen, she resolved to follow a course of action she knew would not be to my liking, but changed her mind. Somehow she didn't know how to tell me. Jane, Marion, my baby, were the only bright spots in my life, my only encouragement. I watched my wife comb her lovely hair, which was always a source of wonderment to me, truly a crowning glory. And from the day she became my wife, I had inwardly vowed that someday I would place precious jewels in her hair for all the world to see. But that day seemed far off.
Stephen, I've been thinking. I know it's been a difficult period for you, dear. I've been offered a position. Oh, darling, please try to understand. I know it's unheard of, a woman working, but we're in debt, and I want to help. Because I believe in you, darling.
Never had anything shocked me more. My wife working? It was unthinkable. And who had the audacity to propose such an idea to Jane?
Richard has arranged for me to study telegraphy for a position with the Pennsylvania Railroad.
In a moment of blind, unreasonable rage, I accused her of a lingering interest in Richard, my former rival.
Stephen.
Jane, Richard Adams is here. He wants to see you.
I forbade her to see him. She tried to reason with me, but I was beyond all reasoning.
Of course I'll do as you wish, Stephen. But at least I can be courteous and give him my answer.
I felt only the keen sting of hurt pride, leaving Jane no other course but to disobey. In a state of unreasoning temperament, I left my home, my wife, and family, and went to New York. And there, in the cheapest kind of quarters, harried by debt, too proud to accept the aid of my wife, I worked desperately, endeavoring to recapture my lost gift. My trip to New York proved an unbearable trial. Alone, without funds, it was impossible to concentrate. Weeks went by, in which I wrote nothing.
Stephen, we cannot advance any more of the firm's money for songs you haven't written. Here's something to tide you over. Don't lose hope, Stephen. These unfruitful periods come to all creative people. You'll get your old spark back. I'm sure of it. Do you really believe that? I'm trying to, Rob. But I don't know. Something's happened to Stephen.
The item about Richard Adams and his bride brought me to my senses. At that moment, I realized I wanted nothing more in the world than to ask my wife's forgiveness. my courtship. I became articulate only in song.
I see her tripping where the bright streams play, happy as the daisies that dance on her way.
I addressed to my wife a copy of the number I had just written in the hopes that this declaration would bring her forgiveness. A second copy was sent to my publishers, Firth Pond and Company.
Many were the I dream of Jeannie with the light brown hair, born like a vapor on the summer air. I see her tripping where the bright streams play, happy as the daisies that dance on her way. Many were the wild notes her merry voice would pour, many were the blithe birds that warble them o'er. I dream of Jeannie with the light brown hair, floating like a vapor on the soft summer air. I sigh for Jeannie when the daylight fades, when twilight shadows haunt the dewy glades, and when the stars adorn the midnight skies. None can compare with her own dear eyes. Many were the wild notes her merry voice would pour, many were the blithe birds that warble them o'er. I dream of Jeannie with the light brown hair, floating like a vapor, the soft summer
I dream of Jeannie with the light brown hair, born like a vapor on the summer air. I see her tripping where the bright streams play, happy as the daisies that dance on her way. Many were the wild notes her merry voice would pour, many were the blithe birds that warble them o'er.
I long for Jeannie with the light brown hair.
Yes, that's the way it happened. And with my return home came the old power to create music.
On the the soft summer air, floating like a vapor on the soft summer air.
So my introduction to this, like maybe many of you, was Bugs Bunny singing, "I dream of Jeannie with the light brown hair." Or "She's a light brown hair," I think is also one of the variations on that. So like many things in popular culture from the early 20th century, I learned about it from a Warner Brothers cartoon or Mad Magazine. Yeah, there you go. Interesting. I was looking to see if the Kingsmen, like I thought Earl Thurl Ravenscroft was in that band or in that group. No, but he was in the Mellow Men. Okay. All right. Anyways, I was hoping that there was going to be a connection there and say like, oh, that's Thurl Ravenscroft, the voice of Tony the Tiger, and who sang the Grinch song in How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So many things stand in our way. Hurdles is what we call them. And this film will help us navigate those hurdles. Enjoy.
The great hurdler impresses us by his grace and efficiency. We say that he has good form. But what do we mean by good hurdling form? How do we judge good form? How is good hurdling form acquired? Notice that the hurdles seem to interfere very little with the athlete's forward progress. The great speed to the hurdles and over the hurdles supplies the main clue. The hurdle race must be looked upon primarily as a sprint race. The hurdles must, of course, be cleared. Yet in clearing them, the athlete must make only those departures from good running style that are absolutely necessary. The athlete leaves the blocks like a sprinter. Nearing the hurdle, he rises slightly and leans forward toward the hurdle. This aggressive lean keeps the center of gravity low and permits him to drive forward rather than upward. The hurdles are never jumped. They are cleared with a powerful forward stride. Note that the head never rises during hurdle clearance. The lean does more than keep the center of gravity low. It permits all other points of form to be carried out. Thus, the lean toward the hurdle is the very heart of hurdling technique. Correct lead leg action stems directly from our general principle of keeping as close as possible to sprinting form. Lead leg action amounts to an exaggerated stride. The knee is lifted higher for hurdle clearance. Notice the similarity between the action of the lead leg over the hurdle and in normal running. Particularly note that the lead leg is kept in alignment. The flexed knee of the lead leg at this point is of great significance. The beginner tends to straighten his leg and to kick as he approaches the hurdle. Over the safe side of the hurdle, the lead leg must be cut down sharply. Both this cut down and body lean are needed to bring about correct body angle for sprinting to the next hurdle. Thus, the lead leg follows normal sprinting form with two minor deviations: a greater knee lift for clearance, a cut down to help recover body angle for sprinting. In hurdle clearance, it is the trail leg that shows the greatest deviation from its normal sprinting action, but this deviation is brief. The trail knee is brought out of alignment so that the upper leg is parallel to the hurdle. We can easily see that this deviation is needed, for if the knee were to be brought through with normal sprinting form, the body would have to be much higher over the hurdle. Only a very limber athlete can carry out this action. But the trail leg's departure from correct sprinting form is brief. The first move of the trail leg is like a normal sprint stride, only harder, because the stride over the hurdle is about 4 feet longer than a normal stride. Once the trail leg is clear of the hurdle, it comes back into alignment in preparation for a full, regular stride. Much has been written and said about the timing of the trail leg off the hurdle, but this problem of timing can be greatly simplified if we seek the answer from our general principle. That is, whenever possible, good sprinting form is maintained. In normal running, the legs are always equidistant from the body. This is the key to timing. That is, when the left leg is back, the right leg is forward, and vice versa. The legs cross only at one point, under the body weight. The relationship between legs is kept over and off the hurdle. The beginner is likely to lose timing when he comes off the hurdle. A hurried trail leg will tend to put both legs forward at the same time, thus interfering with normal running. This picture suggests a vital point. Good timing requires both body lean and a cut down of the lead leg. Thus, in judging the correctness of trail leg timing, the guide is simple. Good running form should be maintained. The correct arm action over the hurdles is also governed by the effort to keep good sprinting form. In normal running, the opposite arm and leg work together. This compensating action helps preserve alignment and balance. The harder the stride, the more extreme the arm action. Now, the drive over the hurdle is a hard and long stride. Hence, the compensating arm drive must also be harder and longer. One word of caution. The next stride, that off the hurdle, is not exaggerated. Hence, the recovery of the arm is not as extreme as the forward thrust. Thus, all points of form stem from the effort to minimize the interference of the obstacles and to make the hurdles a sprint race. Anyone who wants to learn to hurdle should have the fun of doing so. But success in hurdling is most likely to go to the man who is tall and limber, and most of all, there must be fine natural speed. The candidate for the hurdles does lots of running. The grass is a good place for much of this early work. Before he actually hurdles, he should have several weeks of daily running. During this period, his program is very similar to that of the sprinter. The great hurdler is an unusually limber athlete. Efficient technique requires that he be limber. Hence, stretching exercises form an important part of the athlete's work program. He must become increasingly limber. The exercises are progressive, going from gentle stretching to more strenuous work. It is highly important that the athlete be thoroughly warmed up each time before beginning his exercise routine. As the athlete runs by the hurdle in slow motion, we pause for an overall view of the problem of hurdle clearance. Remember, we want him to clear the hurdle with the least possible interference with the running effort. The crotch is close to the hurdle top and does not have to rise very much. Drive can be forward, not upward. The lead leg will not have to depart very far from normal sprint technique. The knee must go higher. It is the trail leg that will present the greatest clearance problem. Early coaching will emphasize the forward lean into the hurdle. The athlete will be taught the general principle that he must drive over the hurdle. A simple trial without a lean compared to one with a lean will quickly convince the athlete that efficient trail leg action requires a forward lean. Even the finest hurdlers continue to give special attention to the trail leg action. The exercise most used is one in which the lead leg is driven forward but outside of the hurdle. In this way, only the trail leg passes over the hurdle. When introduced to this exercise, the athlete is usually a little confused, but this difficulty is temporary. It arises simply from forgetting to first drive the lead leg forward. When this point is explained, the exercise is easily carried out. As our analysis indicates, the trail leg action is the greatest departure from normal sprinting form. This valuable exercise leaves the athlete free to concentrate on his trail leg. The knowledge that it can carry out the trail leg action gives the athlete the confidence so necessary to good hurdling. The hurdler must get the feeling that the high point of his forward drive is reached just before he reaches the hurdle. When directly over the hurdle, he must feel as if he is already coming down. Otherwise, he will float and not land in a position to sprint. The dimension of the hurdle itself serves as a rough guide to the landing area, which would result from correct hurdle clearance. Work over a single hurdle permits the athlete to concentrate on what he has learned without worrying about his stride pattern. This type of drill orients the athlete to the hurdle, and he will begin to look respectable if he is well conditioned, if he is drilled on trail leg action, and if he understands the nature of the event. Under racing conditions, all hurdlers must, of course, take 3 strides between hurdles. Yet in practice, the use of 5 slower and shorter strides between hurdles has a useful function. The pressure and speed necessary for 3 strides are removed, and the athlete is free to concentrate on efficient hurdle clearance. In carrying out this polishing drill, the athlete always leans and drives hard at each hurdle. The first hurdle is the most important hurdle of the race. Measurement is made to locate the takeoff distance from the first hurdle. This spot is prominently marked. Usually about 7 feet is needed, the exact distance depending upon the athlete's height and speed. There must be sufficient room. A cramped takeoff interferes with the body lean so important to efficient clearance. Under the supervision of his coach, the athlete will drill constantly to strike the proper takeoff spot. He must work to make this ability almost second nature. Stride adjustments for the first hurdle must be made as early in the race as possible. This means that such adjustments should be made right at the start, at the blocks. The athlete must drill until these first strides are absolutely consistent. Only in this way can he approach the first hurdle with speed and confidence. When the early stride pattern becomes reliable, the athlete is ready for extensive drill on the first hurdle. In this task, confidence is half the battle. Here he works to approach the hurdle smoothly and without hesitation, to clear the hurdle efficiently with the very minimum departure from good sprinting form. The athlete who handles the first hurdle is far along. From the standpoint of form, the remaining hurdles will present no new problems. After mastery of the first hurdle, the main problems are those of condition, experience, and polish. Yet, even for the advanced hurdler, the first hurdle is always regarded as a critical part of the race. The hurdlers should join the sprinters for starting practice. Such practice is, of course, a necessary and valuable part of the hurdler's training. Moreover, it serves to emphasize the point that the hurdles event is a race. Reaction and speed are important. Though he must perform smoothly and efficiently with attention to technique, it is essential that he acquire the habit of moving fast and driving hard. The hurdler is fortunate if he has 1 or more teammates who are equally proficient. Competitive conditions can be simulated in practice. The chance to work under pressure quickly gains valuable experience for the athlete. 2, the stress situation brings to early coaching attention errors that might otherwise escape notice until late season. The exercise program is continued during the season. A thorough warm-up always precedes all stretching exercises. Constantly aware of the great importance of speed, the coach does all he can to increase sprinting ability. The heart of the workout remains fast work over several hurdles. In a routine practice session, an athlete cannot perform well over 10 hurdles and tends to lose form. Full flights, therefore, are reserved for the meets and the occasional time trial. The athlete who is prepared well can look forward to the thrill of competition. He goes to his marks with the knowledge that he is ready to give his best. It is now that he reaps the benefits of his many hours of training. Here are seen the results of the skills so carefully acquired and the conditioning program that was undergone. Win or lose, the athlete has gained. The high hurdler is usually called upon to run the low hurdles. Often he can perform this double well, but his ability to run the lows will not depend very much upon the hurdling skills he has developed in the highs. Instead, performance will depend more on his speed, stamina, and the conditioning that he has developed. The high hurdle of 42 inches presents a formidable barrier. The athlete standing by a low hurdle of 30 inches shows a remarkable contrast. His center of gravity is already well above the top of the hurdle. The height of the low hurdle is the key to what must be done. In accordance with our basic principle, we must deviate as little as possible from correct sprinting form. Because the low hurdle is less of an obstacle, its clearance demands very little departure from running form. Thus, the precise technique learned for the high hurdles is not used for the lows. It would represent needless departure from proper running style. Notice that for the low hurdle, the lean is hardly more than the normal body angle of the sprinter. In general, there is much less interference with the running effort. The lead leg remains in alignment and is lifted only enough for hurdle clearance. A quick landing puts the athlete in position to continue the running effort. In the high hurdles, considerable deviation is required of the trail leg. In the lows, the trail leg is lifted only enough to clear the hurdle. A greater lift would be a wasteful departure from running style. However, though the trail leg is not high over the hurdle, the knee is brought through to alignment. This action permits a full and efficient running stride. The opposite arm and leg always work together for balance. The clearance of a high hurdle is a very exaggerated stride and requires in compensation an exaggerated action of the arm opposite the lead leg. Low hurdle clearance is a less exaggerated stride. Hence, the arm action is also less exaggerated. The high hurdler reviews with his coach the style modifications he will need for the lows. There will be very little body lean. The lead leg lifts only enough for hurdle clearance. The trail knee rises just enough to clear the hurdle. Compensating arm action is less extreme. The general coaching principle remains the same. Is the hurdle approached without interruption? Does hurdle clearance occupy a minimum time? Is the athlete in a good running position when he comes off the hurdle? In many ways, the lows favor the sprinter. How does the hurdler meet this challenge? He does have some advantages. He is used to running toward a barrier at high speed. He has had training in regulating stride length. Most important, he should try to outcondition the sprinter. If he makes the needed adjustments, the hurdler will have an added chance to compete and to contribute points to his team. The hurdler can take pride in his achievement, for this event combines great skill, speed, and conditioning.
Yeah, there's going to be a test on that. So, it's trying to impart good wisdom, but man, blah, 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 blah. Talk. A good coach might start and stop it and talk about it, but, if you just let it run, I think at some point we all just our brains just kind of turn off to what all this information, and it is likely in the comments that you are talking about something else. No, you're still talking about hurdles. That's interesting. All right, so behind me I have interesting. I have a film set up. I see I'm torn here. Okay, so I could either show a film from the scanner called What Color Are You? Or I could show you a film made in the 70s by the National Rifle Association called It Can Happen to You, which is about safety for women, personal safety for women. What do you guys want to see? It's rare that I do this, and there's a little bit of a... but I just realized that so the personal safety film is like 27 minutes. The both sound nuts. Yes. So here now we're gonna just spend all this time. I'm not gonna show Wonder Cat. I'm sorry, Burrow Owl. Personal safety murderer film. What color are you? I mean, 70s movie. Well, actually, the What Color Are You is probably a 70s movie as well. Flip a coin. don't have a coin handy. So I'm getting like half color. NRA, Looney Tunes. Yeah, sorry, Sean. Yes, Thomas makes a good point. We will see both eventually. Let's, because it will flesh out the shorter film. Okay. Yeah, it was kind of neck and neck, but I think I'm going to go ahead and show what's on the scanner. What color are you? And then we'll show, next week, we'll show the NRA safety film, because that's handy, and this one is already threaded up, and yeah. Well, thank you for your advice. It is correct. I will show the other one next week. All right. What color are you? Let's see how they talk about race in a educational film from the 70s. I think this is Encyclopedia Britannica. Enjoy.
People look different from one another. So do animals.
Come on.
One of the ways in which we all differ is color.
Come on. Hey, there.
Imagine a world in which everything were the same color. Rather dull, isn't it? But color is part of our world. Just as there are thousands of shades of birds, so there are thousands of shades of people. Scientists usually divide people into three main groups, based largely on skin color: the Negro, or black race; the Mongoloid, or yellow race; and the Caucasian, or white race. Actually, the labels black, white, and yellow are exaggerations.
That one up there.
A member of the yellow race isn't really yellow, any more than a member of the black race is really black. And white is not really the color of a white boy. Although people may look very different, everyone's skin color is made of the same few ingredients. The chief one is a brown pigment. We look different because of the amount of pigment we each have in our skin, eyes, and hair.
How much money you got?
Imagine that these pennies are particles of brown skin pigment. If you have a few of them, and they are far apart, your skin will be of a light color. If you have more, your skin will look somewhat darker. And if you have many particles of pigment arranged closely together, your skin will look almost solidly brown.
I've got all pennies.
Although our skin may not look alike, we are all really colored from the same material. What determines the color you are? Skin color is inherited. When a baby is conceived, he receives 23 chromosomes from each parent. The chromosomes, which determine a person's physical traits, are made up of thousands of tiny chemical structures called genes. The genes largely determine what we will look like, including the color of eyes and hair. Some genes also determine skin color. The darkest Negroes have the most active brown pigment genes. The lightest whites have genes which produce the least brown pigment. When parents are of different colors, the children's skin generally tends to be somewhere in between. And since most parents are not exactly the same color, children of all shades are constantly being created. Basically, in the way our bodies are constructed, we are all the same, though superficially we may look quite different. Compare an African oryx and a zebra. They not only look different, they are different. They belong to different species and cannot mate. Even a dromedary and a Bactrian camel, though they look very similar, can never be more to each other than neighbors in a zoo. Take a walrus and a seal. They swim in the same water, yet they are so basically different from each other that they cannot produce offspring. But almost any pair of human beings, anywhere in the world, no matter how varied their color and appearance, can produce children, for we are all members of the same species. Regardless of where we live and what we look like, we have all descended from a common ancestor. If we all have the same ancestor, you may wonder why we don't all look alike today. Part of the answer may be seen here at the zoo.
Hey! Where's Brian? I don't know. I just saw him. Come on, we better find him. There he is! What happened to you? I saw this white wolf. White wolf? I thought our wolves were gray. Yeah, well, the zookeeper saw me looking at him and told me this was a rare breed. At first there were just a few, but now there are a lot of them.
The white wolf is the result of a mutation, a change in heredity. Occasionally, a change occurs in a gene, causing a new trait to appear. In this case, a white wolf was born to gray wolf parents. The silver fox is another mutation. He turned up one day among a family of red foxes. Just a chance mutation. But sometimes changes that occur by chance turn out to serve a useful purpose. Take the bottlenose dolphin, for instance. Scientists believe that a long time ago, dolphins probably lived on land. They are warm-blooded, air-breathing mammals. Their intelligence is surpassed only by that of man. Today, however, they live only in water and look a great deal like fish. Through chance mutations, dolphins must have developed flippers where their front legs used to be, and a powerful tail, better suited to getting around in water than hind legs. Unlike fish, who have scales, dolphins have skin, which, through millions of years, has adapted to the water. So in the case of dolphins, chance mutations served a practical purpose and were retained. In the case of people, scientists tell us, mutations must also have occurred. Over a long period of time, the result was different races. So, based on all available evidence, here is the way many scientists see the development of races. The first recognizable men developed somewhere in Africa between 1 and 2 million years ago. Since man lived in the tropics, he was quite probably dark-skinned and dark-haired, the coloring that would have given him the most natural advantages. It is from man very much like this that we are all descended. From Africa, man's increasing population spread throughout Asia and Europe. In time, mutations occurred, and where advantageous, they were retained. Probably a chance mutation produced the first light-skinned man. In the north, such coloring was an advantage, allowing the weak sun to penetrate his skin more easily to produce needed vitamin D. Therefore, the white race became centered generally in the north. In Africa, on the other hand, dark skin gave natural protection against the burning sun. Here, the Negro race became concentrated. Meanwhile, in Eastern Asia, the Mongoloid people developed. Perhaps the change in skin color from brown to yellow was a random mutation. Other racial changes, however, proved an advantage in the colder climates, such as well-padded cheeks and stockier bodies to conserve body heat. Long ago, a land bridge existed between Asia and the Americas. The early Mongoloids crossed it and spread over the continents of the Western Hemisphere. This explains how the Eskimos, the North American, and the South American Indians belong to the Mongoloid race. So, from a common ancestor in Africa, over a long period of time, all the human races developed. If people gradually changed once they found themselves in a new climate, you may wonder if they are not still changing today. Why, for instance, hasn't the American Negro's skin turned lighter now that he is in a colder place than Africa? For one thing, past changes took thousands of years, and there hasn't been enough time for major new changes to be noticed. But also, as man has learned to control his environment, he himself has had no need to change. 1 million years ago, if you could not tolerate the weather, you might die. Today, you can put on a raincoat, go inside, start a heater or an air conditioner.
Come on.
Scientists reason that races will probably continue to be of different colors for a very long time. Scientists also know that these differences are only skin deep. The brains, muscles, and bones of all races are pretty much the same.
Here it comes.
People may look different, but all over the world we share a common ancestor, a common physical makeup, common human experiences.
Oh, that's all right. I thought
I mentioned in the comments, but the irony here, of course, is that the color of the film faded to red because it was Eastman color or Ektachrome, and so the dyes faded, and so I kind of tried to adjust the colors using a plugin in OBS, which gives me a little bit of a finesse, but really doesn't give me what I really like to have, which is, and this is a more sophisticated thing that's actually in running the scanner, I can output and adjust all sorts of little parameters with the color, and, you know, bring down the reds and, you know, make it, and I have scopes to actually show me where the color is being mapped and how to balance it. So when we, you know, as I'm showing these, I'm also digitizing them. But when I do the color correction and output it from the scanner, the colors are actually better. They're not perfect, but they can be. I can get them a lot better. And so not everybody is blue or green like you saw in this. So I figured I'd take an opportunity to talk about what color are you, to talk about the fact that the colors are all skewed. There's other things that are skewed in this, of course, informationally. And, you know, if you're interested in theories about race and the gray areas and all that, you know, do some current reading because it's very interesting. And race and color, culture, and all how that plays out, obviously, is a push-button, hot-button issue that I'm not going to go into, but do some research and you know, go to some scientific journals. Don't go to Facebook to investigate. But thanks for tuning in today and this week. It's been great. I love showing you films, and I hope that you've enjoyed what we've been showing. A lot of you've noticed, like, wow, he's showing a bunch of stuff from that suburban film library. Yeah, because I got a big batch of them, and they're handy. And what we're trying to do is box them up and put them off-site. So I'm trying to pull out the films that I think are of interest and that I don't have elsewhere, and get those scanned, and then they go to the storage unit. The eventual plan is to add on to the archive, and I'll have more about that as we, in the next couple of months, because that's going to be a big deal. If you like what you saw, or at least were intrigued by it, please donate your thumbs up, your likes, your subscriptions. You can also thank you, Jeremy, for donating via the Super Thanks button, which is in the YouTube comments, but you can also go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks and buy us coffee, which is the lifeblood, the lubricant that drives AV Geeks. You can also go to patreon.com/avgeeks and donate money to us as well, and which we will use on boxes or cans or tape or any number of supplies that we use. But thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll be back on Monday. And I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we will see you soon. Bye, everybody.